Hello again, punters, and welcome back to another episode of AFL Unpopular Opinions. I'm your host, Ryan Cook, and joining me to pile on the Carlton Footy Club, it's Tom Rockliff. How are you, mate?
Oh, they were horrible, weren't they? Scoreboard flattered them in the end. They were dominant in the last quarter, but they were, 48 points or something down at three-quarter time. Had your pants pulled down by North Melbourne. That doesn't get said too often. So, they've got to ask themselves some serious questions, the Blues.
Yeah, dark times at Princes Park. Back from a quick trip to Sydney to watch what was probably the game of the round between the Giants and the Suns. It's Alastair Lynch.
Thank you. Yeah, great game. And I reckon I've been there several times when the crowd's been poor. Not sure what they publicise the number as. We reckon sometimes it's inflated. But it was a very good crowd. Under the cameras, so not in camera view, it was packed on that near side, the commentary side, and it wasn't bad on the other side. For not a local derby or a big Melbourne club, I thought it was actually a really impressive crowd for the Suns and the Giants, and good quality game.
They were quiet early when Gold Coast jumped them. They were impressive in that first quarter.
It was deathly silence there. A couple of times the ball went through and there was nothing at all. But yeah, they were sound asleep early. But yeah, one of the great games.
Plenty to talk about with both of those clubs. And back from a week off, he was in Perth checking out Origin. It's Jack Lindley.
Last week. What's going on?
Switching codes for the weekend. I didn't stick around for the Dons game either, which I'm thankful for. But glad to be back on the board, guys.
How was it over in Perth? I seen one of the videos you did for Ned's, and you were walking around asking the streets, and
no one's around. Yeah.
Northbridge, there was no one around. Horrible weather, give them that. And I think a lot of people flew in for the day just for the game and then got the hell out of there. But no, at the match, it was a great atmosphere. Optus Stadium was phenomenal for it, even though Oval Stadium for a rectangle game doesn't always work. But you were right on top of it, I felt. So the atmosphere was there. Good spectacle.
It's one of the good stadiums. Brisbane should look at building that or something similar.
I think that's what they're looking at replicating, that sort of size and dimensions similar. So, it's like probably the rectangle equivalent Suncorp, where the stadium's right on top of the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can get away with a rectangular game out there in a big oval.
I don't think that 7-Eleven lady was going to watch it. I don't think you convinced her. Mind you.
I'll have to follow up on that one and get back out there.
We won't touch on it too much. The reffing was ordinary.
Yeah.
It was a lot spoken about to make sure we get to a decider. It's spoken about in the NBA as well.
Game 3, baby.
To make sure we get to Game 7. But
surely not.
It sort of flowed into the AFL on the weekend. The umpiring's horrible at the moment, isn't it?
It was... maybe it is the four different interpretations of the rules by the umpires. Well, there at NG Stadium, I think there was 3 times the players stopped. They almost paid the free kick themselves, then gone, oh shit, hang on, it's still going. So it was farcical at times. So the umpires are in the crosshairs at the moment.
Do we make it like a training sessions where the players just umpire themselves for a crack? Do a weekend of that.
Well, most training sessions now, clubs will have umpires go out there, so they actually have an umpire there.
But your point's right. They have an umpire there.
Yeah.
If there's 4 umpires on the field, all it takes is one to make a different decision. He makes the call. So he pays the free kick. The person or the 2 umpires closest, they've made a decision not to pay the free kick, but old mate that's 70 metres away said, no, I thought it was a free kick, so he pays it. Now, hang on.
Yeah, they need a fix. I don't know what the fix is, whether it's to go back to 3 so you've got less opinions, or go to schoolyard and just let them umpire themselves. I don't think that'll work. But I think they need to go full time, and there's just so much grey around the rules now. Like there was all of a sudden on the weekend, the 50 metre protected zone was a fad, and it was back. There was some that started on Thursday and Friday night where there was 50 metre penalties, but there was free kicks as well where umpires were paying them that weren't there. Like there was a touch like that and they were getting free kicks. It just... Yeah, I didn't like it, didn't like the feel. We spoke briefly about Winhager and Dacos. I think that was definitely officiated differently to different contests because it's been... Craig McRae's made a clear point of it. I think some of the tactics there, that happens week in, week out. I don't think Winhager was necessarily kneeing him. I think he was trying to move him with his leg, which you're taught at a young age to move people in the contest because you use your levers like that. So... Yeah, I think they need a reality check and need a fix big time.
And there's different rules for players like Windhager that are known for doing that stuff, and then the umpires just go, okay, well
they focus
slide.
on it. So it's been Fly made focus on that. So the umpires will look at that. And you could see a couple of times they're just focusing on that contest, knowing that it's probably going to be an issue. See it, pay the free kick.
Because the telecast is focusing on it, so they know the pressure's on. Yeah. Everyone's watching. Every little niggle, every handhold.
You've watched it for years. Toby Green's always been umpired differently. Yeah. Key position players. Back in my day, when you played with Brownie was umpired differently because he was big and strong. So it was like, he can put up with more, so we won't pay the free kicks. Where if he played now with the contact that they get, he'd kick near 100 a year because they get held. You would have been the same when you played. Obviously, the rules have changed a lot, but I think there's so much interpretation, and it's hard. It's hard to umpire, but they're so far off at the moment, and it's confusing. Like if you took someone who'd never seen the game and tried to explain the rules to them, good luck.
So that's one, and the simplifying the rules, I reckon, is a key point. Now, I think we discussed this last year, but I've been against Gerard Healy's interpretation of the hands in the back rule, because I don't think hands in the back is not about pushing. Just pay the free kick when someone's pushed in the back. But I agree where he's coming from. It will make it so much easier if you put hands in the back in a marking contest, pay the free kick. Makes it easy. It's black and white then. And so as much as I was against that and just pay the free kick for a push, I get what he's saying. So make it easier for the umpires. They see a hand in the back, it's a free kick.
Yep.
So even if you're holding your ground?
Yeah. Because that was my argument is it's you should be paying free kicks for creating the space, not protecting the space. So if Rocky's playing in front of me and he's coming back with a fly of the ball, I'm protecting the space there to drop back and take the mark. So that's not a push in the back.
Yeah.
It's that one when you push someone forward, that's a free kick. And we see it all the time. So I start with, and for a long time I've been, well, just pay that.
Yeah.
But they seem to struggle with that.
So if you do that to protect the space, Rocky's going to go like this.
Yeah, but that's. But I reckon
sell it. Yeah.
It's all about Are you creating the space or protecting it? So I reckon that's easy enough. But I get if we're going to try to make it easier for the umpire. If you see a hand in the back in a marking contest, just pay the free kick.
I think it was a rule in 05 or 6.
Yeah, it was and changed. And I reckon there was a bunch of us that were arcing up saying, well, that's ridiculous because, again, it's cushioning. But I know what they mean now, and I tend to agree. We've got to make it simpler.
People positioning their backs everywhere.
Yeah. You have to use your arm.
Yeah, you use your arm.
But
you got to. So I think you're right. Make it easier for umpires to make decisions. So clarity. And again, who was it? On 360, Gerard Whateley, and who was it? Can't think who came up with it, but just let the ruckman just go hammer and tongs. Because every week, every ruck contest, we get not every ruck contest, but often we get a whistle blown. Neither ruckman has any idea which way this is going to go. So it just tools down and get into it.
I think like 6 out of the top 10 frees 4 or something I've seen is for ruckman and against. So for the year. Because they just get them. And
because it's a wrestle fest now is coming under the ball. So we'll get back to that. Just jump at the contest. So.
The other rule as well is the holding the ball or incorrect disposal. That's just gone now. Like, if you make an attempt, it's good enough. Where there's situations on the weekend, there was one early in that game that you had yesterday where went to kick it, completely missed his boot. And
that used to be holding the ball.
Used to be holding the ball, incorrect disposal. That's gone.
So that's where it depends if there's prior opportunity. But I think what the AFL were doing, they weren't paying the free kick and you could get away with incorrect disposal because they wanted the game to keep going. But you could build an argument that it actually compounds the issue because incorrect disposal stays in tight, more players get around the ball and it's more congested, whereas pay the free kick and this is where I reckon the ball up, around the ground ball up, just throw it straight up. Don't wait for the ruckman before people come in and congest the area.
Well, that's your old coach that brought that one in. Lee Matthews was the one that wanted that.
Wait for the ruckman to get there. So I think just chuck it straight up.
Because Lee didn't like the third man up, so he was big for getting rid of that of the game. So now you got to nominate the ruck. I think that should be gone.
Yeah. The game's long enough as it is now. It's taken forever.
Well, you see them do it, and then they go get a metre apart. They're never a metre apart. Yeah. Just either throw it in, ball it up, and get it moving, because it does give people time. If the ruckmen are on the other side of the ground, you're waiting for these big dopey blokes to run over.
Oh, absolutely.
And everyone can set up behind.
But that's the thing. You, as a midfielder, you're setting up in your position. You're directing your players to set up structurally around that contest as well. No, just chuck it up. No one's got time, and the game will flow a lot easier.
I like that a lot.
The other one, I reckon we've gone over the top with, and we saw it again on the weekend's game, Suns and Giants, the goal review or score review. There was obvious touches that two umpires were saying, touched, goes through, then they review it. Just let that go. We want the howlers to be turned around, but the ones that really bounce off someone's hand, let's not review it. I reckon there was two on the weekend that this is an absolute waste of time. So many people have seen this. Don't review it.
They've brought that back in as well. What's come in over the last few weeks is where it'll play out and then they'll bring it back and check whether it went through. Like it was really close, whether it was a mark and that just delays the game. Like you could have got 40, 50 seconds down and then they'll go, oh, we want to review that. Just get on with it.
With those ones, I always feel like the umpires don't have a good feel for how the players react to if they've touched it. You tend, like watching on the broadcast, you can tell if a player thinks he's genuinely touched it, but the umpires never seem to be in agreement with that.
But I reckon, and we don't want to be harsh on the umpires, but I reckon it's the environment they're put into is they're coached that way to review it. If in remote doubt, they're reviewing things rather than, no, I'm really sure that was a touch.
Back
that's
yourself.
A point. Yeah, so I reckon that's the environment that's been created for them when they're getting coached during the week, which is a tough gig.
Another bugbear of mine from the weekend, if we're moving on from rules.
We can talk about this all day.
Was the Sunday overlap. So you've got 4 teams that got the bye, so 2 games on Sunday. Surely it's easy enough to have one start at 1 o'clock and one start at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, why'd that happen? Because I come out of the Giants game and thinking, now I just see what the Dogs are doing. It's almost over.
Wasn't really a game, that one, was it? But
no, it wasn't. The Dogs blew it out. But you've got the whole Sunday. Easy enough. I know that it'd be to do with probably Channel 7 wanting to run into the news, so they have to start at, say, 3:20, I think, or whatever the timing is. But start the other game at 12:40 instead.
Yeah,
you can't have an overlap when you've only got 2 games. Surely you want many eyeballs as you can get.
Especially when you got 4 teams on the bye, you want the footy spread out a little bit.
Yeah. I understand when you've got 3 games, you're going to have some overlap because it's just the way it is on a Sunday.
Yep.
But when you've got 2 games, easy enough. Surely, Jack.
I agree, mate. Jack. 2 games.
What's the lady at 7-Eleven?
Start one at 10 a.m. Get the resis on. We should get the Bulldogs one out of the way early and then have the other one prime time in the afternoon.
I think the NRL does it well. They tend to have a late Sunday afternoon game, like 5 o'clock kickoff, maybe a little bit earlier than that. But that's the time slot they should be looking at.
Well, Rocky's point's right with 7 wanting to go into the news. So,
Who watches the news anyway now?
Chuck it on 7,
that's right.
We're all watching Bounce.
That's right.
Well, we used to when Lynchy was on.
Years ago. I did not
Turn it up.
No, that wasn't me. That was always
Do your best, turn it up.
And always Gazy.
We'll get on the show next week.
The other thing as well is I've been critical of the Western Bulldogs and Luke Beveridge not playing his players in their best positions. This one's probably for you. Zach Merritt.
Yeah.
One of the best midfielders in the competition for a number of years, and he can't get any midfield time in a rebounding, whatever they're doing at Essendon, trying to get up the ladder, just shifting him out. He's now struggling off the back of it.
It's glaring, and I think it started off as just an experiment, and I think after 2 weeks you could see it's not worth continuing. It's not. Just get him into the centre where he's most effective, where he can link up with the forward line, and rest him in the forward line. So. I don't know. I think Nick Martin was. I think they wanted to give Nick Martin more time in the middle.
But he's been forward as well.
Yeah.
They put the percentages up from the weekend. He was forward more than he was in the middle. So I think it was a balance of Setterfield and a few of them trying to get team balance through the midfield. But if Merritt's your number one player on your team, and he has been for a long period, your captain, you just play him in his best position. You wouldn't see Michael Voss going a half back or half forward to try and break a tag.
No, not for any length of time. No, you just take him inside and just smash him. But
you back Merritt to,
a lot of
to
teams
do it anyway.
Yeah, well, and I think we were applauding Merritt in the first third of the season for the way he was working, one of the elite midfielders in the comp. There's got to be something more to it. It seems odd whether there's an injury
captain,
issue.
Surely he's got a bit of say in terms of where he plays on the field. Like,
It'd
as
be
a
a discussion.
player, do you get to push back quite a bit?
I think a little bit, but the problem is, in my opinion, that the coaches have so much time on their hand. Not so much time, like they spend a lot of time in meetings and they do a lot through match committee and work out, and they're probably forecasting for the future what the best looks like. But Zach Merritt's part of your future and he's a part of the now.
Yeah.
You got to pick your players in their best position and then filter around that. Like put your second tier, like nothing against Setterfield, but he's no Zach Merritt.
No.
He's a long way off it. So Zach Merritt's my number one. The first name that goes on the board at Essendon is Zach Merritt in the middle.
Yeah, normally you'd imagine so. That's why there must be something more to it.
Well,
I mean, and
we've got a lot of injuries in our back line as well, so it might be just a person.
bit of experience down there, and that could be something. But to answer your question, Zach would be involved in the conversation, I'm sure, because they'd have to sell it to their captain. This is why we're doing it, because there is opportunity, especially as a senior player, to come in and sort of seek clarification or say, no, I need to get in the middle. And that might be something he does this week if he's capable.
Surely has to be.
Well, you'd imagine that maybe this, and Brad probably will initiate it, but I would imagine there's something else behind it, and it would have been sold to Zach, this is why we're doing it, and it might be him physically needing a break. Don't know.
I think you can almost... You watch Patrick Cripps over the last few weeks. Vossi's been playing him a little bit further forward as well, and his touches were way down against North Melbourne on the weekend. Like, is that the same conversation here? Like, should he still be in the middle?
I think so. I think he's trying to find the balance because they've obviously got a few midfielders through there now with Hewitt and those guys fine.
And Walsh is hurt, so that's part of it.
Paddy Cripps has to be as an inside mid. He's won 2 Brownlows doing it, dominated the competition for a number of years, and where they're at, they have to win games of footy.
They do.
In the middle.
Yeah, but I think it's not about what's best for Patrick Cripps. It's actually not best for what's best for Zach Merritt. It's what's best for the team.
Yeah.
So, again, rightly or wrongly, there'd be a discussion and decision made that Cripps is going to spend more time forward because of A, B or C. And probably because his size and shape, he can actually be a key forward, and especially with Harry Mackay not being there. Because Charlie Curnow's not your typical key forward. He's your more third tall, dynamic, jumping all over the place sort of thing. So that might be the reason. But, it's just, they might have to get him back in the middle now, right? But, there'd be a valid reason why they're trying it at least.
It sounds like if you read into Vossi's comments from a couple of weeks ago, he's kind of told Cripps to go forward. Like, there hasn't really been like a discussion between both sides. It's kind of like, this is what you're doing. So
I understand the team element to it, and you can try things to see if you can get a spark or whatnot. But clearly for both of them, clearly for Essendon, it's not working, and it's not working for Zach Merritt. They're not winning games of footy, and he's their best player, and his output's right down. Paddy Cripps is the same. His output's down. All right, we tried it, didn't work.
That's right.
Let's go. Let's shift back to what we know works, and we'll filter around that.
It just shows how unsettled both of those two clubs are, where they're just throwing stuff at the wall at this stage of the season, trying to rescue where they are, especially Carlton. I think one more loss and they're no chance of making the final. So,
well, and that's the other thing. Like, you look at a Geelong, so Dangerfield doesn't spend as much time in the midfield now, but they've got a ready-made replacement, Bailey Smith and Holmes. So Dangerfield is having an impact. So it's like, well, we tried it and it's working. We can continue on. Where I think the same thing. If Dangerfield's output wasn't there, you probably look to put him back in the middle. So I've got nothing against trying it. Try it. See if you get a spark or a spike in your performance, but it's not working for those clubs.
Trying at this stage of the season too is, like you said, Jack, pretty telling. Let's stay on the Blues though, because look, it's the major talking point, isn't it? But I actually don't know what else to say about this club, to be totally honest. Like, what was dished up on the weekend was pretty poor, and I think we spoke before we started recording that the scoreline flattered the Blues. They came out after that first quarter break and were just completely lost. Momentum swung in North's favour, and they never really responded. So what's the way forward here? Say Vossi does get sacked. I don't know if they lose 5 of the next 7 games that going to be done, and it's probably Vossi done. Talk about trading Sam Walsh. Talk about trading Harry Mackay. Is that the way that you guys see this playing out?
Well, to start with, it would be brave of a club like going down the Richmond path with Hardwick, or whether it was Bomber Thompson as well years ago as well. Do they change what's around him, Michael Voss? Do they actually change other key elements of the football department? They've performed well over the course of the last 4 years. No, I have a bias, obviously, but they've performed well at times. It's that consistency issue. So if they've believed in Vossi enough to, I think they've already re-signed him once.
Yep.
If they believe he's a good coach, do you tweak some things around him to actually support him and go again? So yeah, it's always the reflex is I just get rid of the coach. But they felt he was good enough to re-sign him. So we actually don't know who's a good coach and who's not, because unless you're actually in there, you don't know how they connect with players.
Yeah.
We just look at the end results, which at the end of the day is how the coaches get marked. But if they've believed in him once, do they change some things around him? That'd be a big call, but something that with a new CEO they might do.
He did get the most out of that unit early on, hence the contract extension. So is it more of a personnel rather than...
I think, they probably need a review and talk to all elements. I think it's Graham Wright's coming in.
So Wrighty's there now in a senior role, but takes over as CEO in October. So Wrighty's with a heap of experience. He'd know what's working now. He's been there long enough. So he must have been there about 6 or 9 months now, 9 months maybe. He'd know what's working. So maybe some tweaks around Vossi to support Vossi. Maybe it's even a bit of guidance with Vossi as well. But a fresh set of eyes will be really important in that key role.
Yeah, so they've got... I don't think you want to make a rash decision or something over the next month, but they've got Port Adelaide Thursday night, Collingwood Friday night, Brisbane Thursday night.
All these primetime games, that's disgusting.
They've got 3 prime times in the next 3 weeks, and then they've got Carlton after that. So big month of footy for them, but they've got to make some decisions. I think on their older players, a guy like Doherty's been a great servant for a long period of time. He's probably come back a little bit, whether you have a discussion with him. De Koning, you'd want an answer pretty soon from him, either one way or the other. If you're going, that's fine. Like Dangerfield, I think, went to Noble when he was at Adelaide and said, I'm leaving, so they could plan. They knew from early on in the year, they planned for it, they knew what they could get, and Dangerfield went. It's time to have a mature conversation with De Koning. Are you staying or are you going? Because we need to put plans in place for now. This year's probably going to be too hard. We can't win it. We can potentially play finals, but we realistically think we can't win it. And then it's guys like Mackay. Do you uptrade for him? Do you go and get 2 first-rounders or the like for him? Do you put him on the table to go to a North Melbourne or someone who's up and coming, or a St Kilda? Yep. Do they need another key forward? Get a couple of picks in. So if De Koning and say it is Mackay, if you decide that those 2 are leaving, you could potentially get 4 first-rounders, maybe uptrade for some not fringe, but good players from other clubs, because I think they got rid of a couple like Kennedy, who's gone to Western Bulldogs, who's been outstanding. You'd love to have him in the fold. What it looks like, because their spine's as good as anyone in the competition. It's the outer of that, whether it's a small forward or what comes into the mix for them. If
you trade Mackay, and I get that, you'd get a couple of first round picks. Are you saying to Paddy Cripps, or you're saying to your supporter base, the Paddy Cripps era is gone without a premiership? Because if you're regenerating that much.
But you're not regenerating that much, in my opinion, because you're getting rid of someone off your books who would be high paid. You've still got Weeder in at fullback. You've still got Silvani. You've got, depending on De Koning, what he does, you've got Paddy Cripps through the middle. You've still got Curnow in the forward half. You've got Sam Walsh. They've still got stars on that team. So they're still good enough to win it, in my opinion. But if you're getting rid of Mackay, so you're getting rid of one key forward, one element, I think Curnow's still good enough. He's with Coleman medalist. You can also bring in some high-end talent. And I think, is it Jager Smith who we have?
Ollie Florent's been floated as well as a trade target. Yeah.
Well, Smith, they're stiff with Smith.
Smith going down with his knee, so he's a pick 2 or 3, isn't he? So,
but how much can you expect from a first-yearer?
No, well, not that much, but I think they're still in the window. I think their best is good enough to compete, but we're just not seeing it week in, week out.
Do they need to come out, and if they're going to stick with Vossi, publicly say that? Because there's a lot of pressure from fans, and that noise is only going to grow with that fixture list thing.
It's reasonable to say they need some certainty going forward.
Yeah.
So some sort of announcement if they're going to restructure the footy department and go in behind Vossi. They need some certainty in that, but that's probably not until the end of the year till Righty starts. But this week's game, it's always just 1 week at a time, but this week is a massive week.
Is it Port Adelaide, you said?
Port Adelaide, Thursday night in Adelaide. Two clubs that are underachieved this year. And this is a massive game for Carlton. They've just got to get this done.
Yep.
But you can see, as we've seen in recent times, the best of Port's all right. They can drop off a cliff, but the best of Port is going to really trouble Carlton.
Their best, and Carlton's record, I think they've only won one once there out of 20 goes or something at Adelaide Oval.
It's a few years ago, I think the first year of gather round maybe.
Yeah. So they're going to be up against it. Thursday night footy. Port Adelaide, the scoreboard flattered them on the weekend. They
had chances to win that game too.
Who, Port?
Yeah, I thought so.
They were terrible, I thought. They were disappointing.
They weren't real good.
No, they weren't.
Amadi kicking 0-6. That's my unpopular opinion for the week.
Right.
So he's kicked a goal.
Sydney Swans can win the flag.
Look out.
I'm putting them, I'm putting them back
I
in
reckon
the
you've
mix.
nailed the unpopular opinion
Yeah,
there.
I love that.
I'm putting them
this year.
in the flag contention. A fit Tom Papley, a fit Callum Mills, and a fit Eric Goulden. They are a different team.
Hang on. Let's backpedal. You said to win the flag, and now you're saying flag contention. So
They can win the flag.
Okay.
So
All right,
I
so
put
I wanna
them
make
in
sure
with
we got that straight.
Collingwood, Brisbane, Geelong, Sydney are my four.
You know they have to win a grand final to win a flag.
Yes, I do know that. But they are a different team with those three back, fit and
Oh,
fire.
yeah. I can't get involved in this, but give us some numbers, Rhino.
I was just getting it up. You tell me what you think the Swans are
I'd
paying.
have to be 34-1.
Add
You
another
open
digit
your
on
I
the
was
end
going
of
to say,
that,
I'll give you more than that.
100 to 1.
I'm going to have a flutter after this podcast. I'm allowed to have a flutter.
I'm not.
I know they're sitting 11th, so they're a couple of games outside the 8.
$12 to make the 8 too.
They were dominant on the weekend against Port Adelaide on their home deck. And I know that Port are struggling. They're a different team when they're all fit and firing. It takes pressure off Isaac Heaney. He went out there, played really well.
Yeah.
They've got their balance in their front half back. Their defence looks more settled as well. So McCartan going back, they look much better.
Yeah. So to win the flag, they've probably got to win this week.
Yeah.
Who's your other tip?
So they've got
Bulldogs?
the Dogs.
Yeah, they've got Dogs this week.
Dogs this week, so they'll roll over them on Friday night at the SCG. And then
In Bond's milestone game, you're that confident.
They'll beat Fremantle at home.
Yeah.
Then they have St Kilda. They'll beat St Kilda.
All right.
Then they will play North Melbourne. They'll beat North Melbourne.
Okay, yeah.
So the next
They're
2
home.
weeks are important. Then they got the Giants, which can go either way. We've seen them beat them earlier this season.
They don't win the next one. Nah.
I'm telling you, they can win it. Unpopular
Lions
opinion.
and the Cats.
Yeah.
They've got a rough run home.
They don't kick goals for fun, this team, though. You telling me you're that confident in their forward line that's been an absolute disaster for most of the year?
Yeah, I think with their balance back, I think Papley is that forward half player that's as good as anyone in the
makes a
competition.
difference,
yeah.
He's got speed, he can close defensively, but he bobs up and kicks goals. Goulden's as good as anyone in the competition.
Yes.
He is an absolute freak. What he was able to do, come back first game, you could see he was just happy being out there. Mills, their captain, we haven't seen him for a couple of years, but he was outstanding on the weekend. I think they went to the grand final last year for a reason, because they were good enough. They obviously failed on the big stage, but their best, I think, is good enough, and I think they're a team outside that can come and do some damage in September.
I'd say they're a dark horse, but I'm not.
You wouldn't want
on
to
the flag
let me
just
tell you,
yet,
you wouldn't want to run into them in September.
Dark horse.
You'd be quite content taking,
They could be the
taking that
Dogs.
bet into grand final week, wouldn't
Yeah, they could take the Dogs. of 2016 and emulate that. I think their best is good enough. If they sneak into the 8, I wouldn't want to be playing them in September.
Nah, I'd agree with that.
Right, we'll be cutting this edit up.
Yeah.
We might have to have a little wager on
Revisit.
this.
Okay.
If they don't win the flag, you got to do something.
All right.
This is a
If they don't win the front,
this is a massive call.
The punters out there, 100 to 1.
they're in 17th spot.
Well, I want to know how confident you are.
Well, I think there you go. I think they're one of the 4 teams or 5 teams that can win it. I'd throw the Dogs in there as well. I think the teams that can win the grand final this year are Collingwood, Brisbane, Geelong. I think the Dogs, their best is still good enough. Giants, I'm still 50-50, and Sydney. So there's 5.
Yep.
Down to 5. So I put a red line through them a while ago. I'm taking that red line off.
You got the whiteout out.
Taking that back off and saying
right.
Sydney can win it.
Wow. Yeah.
What about the other? That's this is a left field statement. The non-surprise announcement yesterday that Matt Rowe's going to extend his contract for a couple of years.
He's clearly been watching our show because you boys both said sign 2 years.
Of course he was going to. He was always going to.
Well, he could be the first $2 million man with Tasmania coming in. 2 years, unrestricted free agent. Could be Tasmania's first captain if they come in the competition, that is.
Will be right, absolutely
but
right.
Maybe not $2 million, but I think his next contract will be massive. I think it's smart by his management and by Matty. Sign a 2-year extension. See what the Gold Coast can do. I mean, they sit outside the 8 now. They probably play finals, but they could be one that Sydney knock out of the finals. And then he's got a decision to make.
Yep.
In 2 years' time.
I think
it's stays or goes.
Easy decision then. I reckon, next 2 years, he'll know exactly where they're at. They're on the verge of something or 1-1 and then can make a decision well informed.
If you pinch him from Gold Coast, there will have to be like a acclimatation period from going to Tassie from the Gold.
He's got the fair skin.
He does have the skin for it.
So he'll get him the Tassie straight away.
Well, he's going to need fresh grass on that new stadium.
Beat me to it.
To taste down there. The other big story out of the weekend, which I gave him no chance, and on the multi, Geelong was my bet of the week.
Oh, yeah. How good were the Lions?
Yeah.
Brisbane winning down there for the first time since 2003. Massive.
I saw a photo of you next to Vossi, I think it was, in the sheds of that game that you won. And you didn't know last week when the Lions last won down there.
Mate, I can't remember what happened last week.
It's great. It's great.
Sorry, no, I forget that stuff. But yeah, a long time ago. But that reinforces what we've said about the Lions all year. They're playing comfortable, so they do what they need to do at times, which is bitten them in the arse at times. But if they have to knock someone over, and it's a big marquee game, so like Hawthorn, the MCG, so a legitimate challenger, get to the MCG, which they rarely do, bang. Little brother from down the road comes strutting up to the Gabba, and they go smack. Yep. So when there's a big marquee game, they've been getting themselves up, and it was a complete performance. But Logan Morris, we pumped him up last week. Logan Morris is just going from strength to strength for a pick, 31 or something like that, who was touted that possibly could play halfback flank.
Yep.
He's doing some great work.
Who would you rather have, him or Sam Darcy?
I think you probably have to go Darcy, but
I'll throw Nate Caddy in there for you, Jack.
Well, it's Darcy, Morris, Caddy. For me, at the moment, I think Logan Morris he re-signed for a couple, didn't he? But when he's out,
So is he the end of 27 as well?
I reckon he signed a couple. I think Brisbane got away with it. I remember speaking to Danny Daly about it. He's worth whatever, blank check. He's a gun. He is a dead set gun in that front half. His ability to hit the scoreboard. He takes that main target. We spoke about a Joe Danaher replacement. He's not a Joe Danaher. He's a more stand and deliver type operator where Danaher's the lead. I'd love to see when Ty Gallop gets going as well. I know we speak about a lot of commentary around the academies. They're so important for Queensland footy and New South Wales footy, and anyone that says that they should go is kidding themselves.
I think a lot of credit's got to go to the midfield, though. Those inside 50 entries would make it so easy for him, whereas Caddy has to take pack marks. And he has to kick goals over his head.
But the other one as well, Cam Rayner, when they play him the way they did out of the goal square, so he can come out of the goal square and in the middle, he looks like a different player. When he's on the fringes of the half forward, he's not the same player. Coming out of the goal square, he's a tough matchup.
Breaking tackles.
And put him in the middle. and then you've got Logan Morris who's sitting 25 metres out. They're going to be hard to stop.
They played like they did on grand final day, I thought, on Friday night. Yeah.
Is that a point for concern that they need a big challenge, or that it's perfect for finals, basically?
It's sort of, I don't think it's a concern.
Yeah.
I think it's understandable at times. Some teams just now tread water. They want to sort of do what they did last year and win the flag.
Yeah.
So they're treading water, just want to do enough. And this is a subconscious thing to qualify to have another crack at the final. So it's almost like all your preliminary games of the season to qualify, and then the main game is September. And that's what they want to set themselves up for. And I reckon just subconsciously they've struggled at times, for that bit of motivation or that bit of an edge to be at your very best. But no, we haven't strayed from thinking they haven't been great, but they're still my number one pick for the flag.
Yeah, they're still second. They're second on the ladder. Clear second.
Yeah.
By, well, not clear, but half a game. And they're going to be there after all the buys are finished. So they're not going on all cylinders, and they're still second on the ladder. Home final, home prelim.
Yeah.
They'd
want to nail down that second
Till they
spot.
meet Sydney.
I'll tell you what. Well, I'll tell you what, they'd be reasonably comfortable going to the MCG again. At the other probably end of the spectrum, I don't think they were too bad, Gold Coast. And I think probably grabbing a line from Chris Fagan over the recent weeks, they had that many shots, expected score, which again I know is irrelevant because it's not what was scored. The Suns did a lot right. Their midfield was good. There's probably that maturity piece again. They shouldn't lose a game when they're in that sort of position. And the Giants, I mean, they're a class act and got some great players.
Stringer kicking them from everywhere.
I mean, how good was
Another
that?
good let go by us.
It was only Jake Stringer could do that. Those couple of goals,
exactly.
They were high class goals. But yeah, I'm not as concerned as some about the Suns. And compared to, say, the Lions, they got 2 games up their sleeve as well. So I think they're in a good position. But just that maturity, put the game away when you need to, and some of the younger players just got to stand up a bit more consistent.
So they've got the 2 games. If they win them, they're effectively third.
Yeah.
So they are ninth, but it's not really an effective ninth at the moment.
Yeah, and I reckon the gut feel is they feel like a 5th or 6th team. Like, they've still got some holes. You know, I think Mac Andrew, who's an exciting future, very good player, he had a few
Moments.
down moments during the game, but no, they've got some opportunities. Just kick your goals.
Yeah.
I mean,
Saying that, they're probably one of the teams you'd like to see in the finals, knowing there's not that mental fortitude.
We come up against them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wouldn't mind playing them,
Yeah, probably. But I think that lessons learned out of the weekend. I mean, Jed Walter will never kick a ball like that again. And we've all missed shots from essentially top of the goal square, but he just too casual.
Long's having a good year too.
He's a good player.
Yeah.
He's a very good player. Jared Witts, we've spoken about him a fair bit.
He's
puts
so
on
underrated.
Silver platter for Noah Anderson, who must have had about, what do you have?
42, I think, or 43.
Yeah, and was it about 16 clearances or something like that?
Reminds me of my numbers. The other one as well out of the weekend we spoke about, Carlton, is North Melbourne. They've turned a corner, I reckon, the last 8 weeks. Like Port Adelaide just beat them. Essendon just beat them. They had the draw with the Lions, and they've beaten Richmond, West Coast. Fremantle just beat them.
Yeah.
Then they have a good win against Carlton. So there's certainly upside to North Melbourne. So finally, I think you can see a bit of light at the end of the tunnel.
They've been building.
Better than I thought.
Yeah.
The last few weeks. Yeah, they've been very good. And it was always going to be a challenge after that Fremantle game where they were pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to be a massive chance against Carlton. They did well.
Yeah.
Some good young players coming through there.
Their pressure on the weekend was really good, I thought, for most of that game. Tristan Sherry is another one too that I feel like just doesn't get enough props for how good he has become this year.
Yeah. Well, you talk about all Australian ruckmen. It's probably not a walk-up for Max Gawn anymore, even though he's got about 15 of them. There's certainly competition there, I think, and he's probably the pick of them. At the moment, you'd say Tim English has been good again.
Yeah.
If you're happen to be doing a list build for a future club, that Sherry Cameron type ruckman who's been in the system a little bit, but starting to mature into a big body and workhorse. I think rather than going a Tom de Koning $1.7 million contract, you'd be looking at more of these guys, really solid, strong over the ball, good protector of your teammates. That's the one you'd be building your midfield around, I would have thought, rather than the high-profile, very expensive ruckman.
Is this a hint for future?
Yeah, I was just thinking. Actually, I just spent half an hour on the phone with Paul Roos. We were talking about list builds and philosophies and building the right culture and how many kids you go compared to your seasoned pros to your elite marquee players. It's an interesting thing. I'm glad it's not my job, but our list manager will have a lot of work ahead. But yeah, what is the build? Because you don't want to go all kids, all talented kids. Because you need to create the right environment and you need to protect these kids and you need to give them opportunities, but at times they've got to be able to sit out of the team. It's an interesting process over the next couple of years for the Tassie list management team.
It's a GWS model, isn't it?
Yeah, essentially.
You bring in like those ruckmen, so they like Mummy and guys like that. Mummy was a little bit later. Dean Brogan, I think, was
Stevie
the first
J.
one.
Yeah.
These older guys, Luke Power, McDonald, you bring in a few and then you get your star 23, 24-year-olds, so your Cal Wards, those guys.
Yeah, so they went, their marquee player was Scully and went Ward and Phil Davis. Yeah. So they were all about 21. So
Israel Folau, don't forget.
I don't think you go rugby league.
That was maybe an AFL appointment, I would have thought.
Kalen Pong is available.
The cultural piece in those protectors, Luke Power, James McDonald, Chad Corns, Dean Brogan. Really well done. And then have the elite kids coming through. Like their 17-year-old priority picks. This is the luck of the draw piece.
Yeah.
The 17-year-old priority picks, amongst their 12, they got Adam Treloar, Jeremy Cameron, Dylan Shield. Gold Coast, they didn't have any stars in that in their year. So that's a bit of a luck of the draw. But yeah, if you're getting 17-year-olds like that, then your top draft picks coming through, you know, Josh Kellys and Whitfields and that sort of stuff, Toby Green, with those experienced players, you set the right culture up and it gives you the best opportunity moving forward.
And how ambitious are you with a window? Would you say, our goal is 5 years' time, we want to be top 8 side? Or
Well, I think everyone wants Tassie to be more than competitive pretty quickly. So in the first couple of years, you want to be competitive. You don't want to be getting bashed off the park. So that's where you probably need to go a little bit older than maybe the Suns and the Giants to start with. But yeah, you use the template of the Giants. So I think played finals in year 5.
Yeah.
So you'd reckon, just as a really basic rule of thumb, if you could replicate what the Giants did on the field, that'd be a pretty strong base to set up the club. I mean, you've got to say, on the field, they've been a success.
Yeah, the Giants,
definitely.
100%.
They've been in grand finals.
Yeah.
Been there. Just prelims, haven't won it.
haven't won it yet. But your first big thing is to be able to put yourself in a position where you qualify, and then anything can happen in September, as we've heard. But the right foundations at the very start is crucial.
Probably helps having someone like Jeremy Cameron for the first, 3 or 4 years?
Yeah. Well, again, that was luck of the draw as a 17-year-old priority pick. Yeah. And he had to be born in a window from, it was January 1 to the end of April. He had to be born in that window to be able to be picked. So that is luck of the draw. So, very
and
lucky.
I think
good breeding for his parents.
Tassie, it's a football city anyway, so you don't have to go like a Gold Coast and look for those marquee signings to sell the game up there. You've got, it's already a loved product down there, so it's just like do the right things, build properly.
We just need the Tassie people to do the right things and don't vote Green.
We're very comfortable with the process down there. We just, it'd be great for the AFL, great for
Labor,
the state.
Liberals, that's fine. Left or right's fine. Just don't go to Green.
You're not allowed to talk politics right now. There's too much going on.
You've got Uncle Jeremy down there.
You got to live up to the Jack Jumpers down there too. They've set a pretty high bar, Lynchy.
Yeah, how good have they been?
They've been great.
They've been great.
There's your next ruckman, maybe, Lynchy.
That's a model to look up to.
Rest assured, if you're looking at those. Well, that's the thing. You think like someone like Hugh Greenwood, who came through, and you'd look at a different version of Hugh, but was AIS footy, then flipped to AIS basketball, went and played college basketball in the US, realised he come back, I think he signed with the Perth Wildcats when he came back, but then Adelaide had tracked him all the way through and thought, no, we'll offer him a gig here. A version of Hugh, but someone that's, say, 209 centimetres or 208 centimetres, 210s, that's played a bit of footy, but's been playing basically professional sport in college. Keep an eye on those guys.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine our list managers are looking right now. All the basketball is playing college basketball, and the real big ones. If you played a bit of footy, sing out if you don't make the NBA.
See if you can compete with Giddy's new contract.
We were looking for the ones that don't make the NBA.
Okay.
Well, another guy that I don't know whether you've ever heard it or not, but Scott Pendlebury actually played.
Oh, really?
Tell us more.
I've heard it for the first time on the weekend.
I've never seen him in a basketball jersey.
Yeah. Dear me. Did you have a quick word to Roosie and say, you want to come and coach, mate?
Oh, he's busy.
Is he in Hawaii?
Yeah, he's living in Hawaii. He's just in a beautiful little place at Diamond Head. He's doing well.
Good on him.
Thank you, Melbourne Footy Club.
Yeah.
He's doing very well.
Very good. All right, we might take a break and we'll come back and chat further. You're listening to AFL Unpopular Opinions, boys. We're looking ahead at the round 16 coming up. Look, it's pretty shit. Some tough games to get around, but as we said earlier,
we got flag favourite Sydney playing.
That's it, Must-win game on Friday against the Doggies.
Bit of value there too.
I reckon it's an elimination final.
Bit of value on the Neds app on Monday morning against the Dogs. Dogs were good, but I reckon they can roll them.
Okay.
Okay.
$2.30 for the Swans.
Yep.
You'll be diving in head first.
Yeah.
Well, the Dogs have been carving up those lower teams, haven't they? And they've fallen a bit short on the big teams.
They haven't beaten anyone above them this year, the Dogs.
Yeah.
Not that Sydney are above them, but I think they will finish
in
above
your
them.
books, they're above them.
In my opinion. I think that, Sydney will be back to their best. We've got an absolute fizzer on Thursday night, but as Lynchy said, you're going to have to watch it. You're going to have to watch it.
Fascinating.
Like that. Like Port and Carlton, how they've drawn a Thursday night. They obviously AFL predicted them to be a bit better than what they were. Port played in a prelim last year. Carlton, we thought may climb the ladder, but they haven't. So I don't know which way you're leaning in that one. I think Port probably
Port
get it
at home,
done.
I reckon.
They
Port
get it
at
done
home if they get up and going.
Yeah.
Just their midfield with speed.
Well, potentially the loser will be
goes
coaching their last game if Carlton make the decision, because I think Ken came out and said that once finals are off the table, he would walk away, I think, pre-bye, which if they lose this, you would say finals.
So he's trying to get off as quickly as possible by the looks of things. Looking at his
They're 2 weeks previous were good, couple of good wins.
Yeah, he was talking about finals, though. We've had a mental reset. We're still in this.
Well, they were disappointing on the weekend, and if they lose on the weekend, they'll be right back in the pack then.
Yeah.
So... And then obviously...
Got the Lions up here the following week.
And then, so, I mean, whether that happens or not, whether he continues to coach, he'll probably see it out. It'll be a discussion for him and the club. But if Carlton lose that, they'll be calling. They'll be calling for Vossi's head. I've got no doubt about that.
You'll have the red pen out for him.
Well, I can erase it as well. I can get the white out. There's
It's a red crayon.
Potentially. So there's a bit. There'll be a lot of fallout out of that game, one way or the other.
Yeah. And then Saturday we got Suns taking on the D's. That could be somewhat intriguing with Gold Coast falling outside of the 8 now.
Gold Coast will just get that done, I reckon.
Yep.
You'd have to have the very best of Melbourne. Was it
last year?
Last year, Melbourne got the win.
Last game of the season, I reckon. They came up or second last, was it?
Yeah, it was late in the season. There was a lot of pressure on Melbourne. The club, I reckon the CEO was under the pump as well. And Melbourne came out and belted them. 54 points.
Smacked them on their home deck. So
they're going with some confidence, but they just, you wouldn't think with that pretty strong, defence for the Suns on the weekend had a poor weekend, but you couldn't see Melbourne kicking a score like that again.
Nah. And then we got the Hawks taking on North. Hawks are starting to get some players back. I read last week Will Day's a chance of coming back by around 20, so that's They're going to be healthy for the run home, and then Saturday.
So it's not a night game down there. It's
4:15.
4:15. She'll be getting frosty though.
Twilight.
She will.
They don't have twilights and night games down there. The AFL set this up.
It'll be real cold. Quarter time huddle will be dark.
Yeah, and then we got Pies West Coast at Marvel. Riddle me why they're playing at Marvel. I don't know why.
Well, Collingwood get crowds no matter what. So you'd imagine it should have been at the MCG, but that could be the one-sided game that we've ever seen.
It'd have to be, wouldn't it? Jeez, that's a huge ask.
What is the line, or what would you give them, Lynchy? What if you were given a fair head start? You can't bet on it. If you were going to give Collingwood or West Coast a head start, how many goals are you giving them before the game?
West Coast?
Yeah.
15?
15.
90 points.
Well, what do you reckon the margin's going to
I think the line would have to be 10, but yeah.
be? So, all right, so if it was
They
10,
do, but
it was
at
10 you're
Marvel-
taking West Coast?
If it was 10, I'm taking Collingwood.
Yeah, well, so it's...
So that's not the line.
That's not the line then.
Well, it's
What stage, and I can't not involved in this, no, what margin are you
back in West Coast.
West Coast?
78.
You can't do it.
You want to say 90, don't you?
Yeah.
78.
Oh, 78.
78.
56 and a half. So it's close to 10.
56.
How
and a
many
half, that's-
touches does Dacos get then? What's the line on
Well,
that?
Infinity.
They
Do
don't
they bother
really tag,
tag?
do they?
Yeah.
So he could have a massive one.
Yeah.
Yeah. 56, if I'm a punter, I'm laying into Collingwood.
What was your tip at the start of the season? Someone to get 50.
50.
Could happen.
Is that back up on the app yet? Because I
have to have a look.
might have a little flutter on that as well.
Double.
But they, Collingwood, and they'll smash West Coast, won't they?
Yeah, easily.
So you got there in the end.
Yeah, but 56 points
Took
is
some
better than
convincing.
90. 90 points is 90 points. I can't see them.
I mean, they're not at the G, so
If it was at the G, they'd probably
Yeah.
win it by 100.
We haven't really had a massive blowout yet this year, have we? Like the Swans had one last year. Wasn't it like 120
No,
points or
wasn't
something?
there
Was
a-
it the Swans?
Wasn't there a
Port
90
Adelaide
odd?
Yeah.
smashed Sydney before the finals.
We might be due.
Looked like there was going to be one on the weekend at one point. Western Bulldogs, 80-odd points.
Well, they were 72 points a
Well,
few weeks ago
we
against
had
St Kilda.
95.
Yeah, when was
were-
that?
Last week. You were laying low.
yeah. Well,
Geelong touched up.
Had an
Essendon.
RDO.
guys, let's not discuss last week's games. We're looking forward next round. We've got the bye, so
Sunday we got another overlap.
Have we really?
2 games, so 3:20 and a 5:10. Local time, Brisbane and Melbourne and Sydney.
Doesn't make sense.
We've got an overlap and no footy until 3:20.
Nah, that's poor.
yeah, that's
It's gonna,
baffling.
a long Sunday. Richmond and Adelaide. Adelaide get that done, don't they?
Yeah, you think
Yeah.
so.
Sorry, I've been going back there.
Easy business.
Looking at other games from previous weeks.
And then Fremantle St Kilda. That's potentially game of the round.
The Ross Lyon Cup.
Nah,
it's
Sydney Bulldogs.
Thursday, Friday night. My Swans.
Yeah.
They should get it done easy though.
That's the game of the round, isn't it? Friday night.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
Big crowd at the SCG.
Where are you working? You'll be down there?
I'll be at SCG and then
Gold
People
Coast.
First on Saturday.
Back to back.
Busy weekend.
It'll be good. Couple of good games, I reckon.
Yeah. All right. Well, that might do us this week, boys.
No worries.
Well done, gents.
Good to see you
Good
back,
stuff.
Jack.
Yeah, great to be back, guys.
Fresh haircut too. Sure.
Yeah, Buzz.
Everyone on this panel is losing their hair.
I've got
slowly.
about 3 cuts left in me. I reckon.
Put the feathers.
What's your secret, Lynchy?
Replant the feathers.
Yeah,
Off to Turkey.
yeah. Off to Perth last week, maybe Turkey next week.
Tell you what, get on my Swans and you can go over there in the off season.
Yeah.
Get it done
Yeah.
for free.
Oh, really?
Courtesy of Uncle Ned's.
Would you go the hair hat? Would you go the rug?
Can we just finish this
Now
podcast?
you made a point.
Give me a little bit of
I
dignity.
wouldn't chuck that light above your head too often.
Jeez.
Jeez, you're real sparse sort of setup, isn't it?
Richard stitched you up
Oh,
here.
boy.
Wow, hey. Thank you, Rocky. Thank you, Lynchy. Thank you, Jack.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website